All right, let's go ahead and kick this one off today. Spiritual Blacksmith, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Great.
Why don't you start off by just telling everybody a little bit about what it is that you do?
Oh, what I do. I do a lot. That's a very broad question, Ryan. Uh, what don't I do? Uh, I don't not stand in my authenticity. I
Ooh,
don't not shine. I
I
don't
love
limit myself.
I love that you're answering it like this. This is a first.
It's a first for me too. Uh, I don't, I don't limit my thoughts. I don't surround myself with people and things that no longer serve me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I don't choose to be unhappy.
That's a big one.
Mhm. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get there? Like to the place that you're at today? Like when would you say that your I guess journey started?
It took a while, I would say. It was not easy. It was not easy,
Yeah.
but it was worth the work. I feel that it was a long time coming.
Mm.
I am a lawyer by trade and a law professor, and so I've always worked in that type A, black or white, in the box environment, and it doesn't allow for much creativity.
Mm.
And so in working in that field for so long, for 17 years, I I began to feel as though I was not really doing what I came to do.
Mm.
And that's a very vague term, but I just felt like I'm successful, I'm making good money, on paper everything is amazing, but I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yep.
Now, what that doing was, I had no idea. This
Yeah.
was about 12, 15 years ago. I had no idea, but I knew what I was doing then wasn't it.
Yeah.
And so it was a journey of finding out, well, what is it? And so it started with, okay, what am I not? And you begin to peel away these layers of things and until you are left with the core of who you are.
Yeah.
And that's like getting to the inner part of that lotus. You're like, oh, ah, that's the only way I could describe it is getting to that, is peeling back the layers of what you're not, because that's all we know in this life.
Yeah.
Because our life is built up of experiences. So all we know is what we've experienced, whether through your parents, where you've lived, who you've been in contact with. So until you begin to peel away all the things you know, then you're left with, what don't I know? And that's where real change begins. It's all about what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how my journey began. I don't know why I'm not happy. I don't know why what I'm doing is not fulfilling to me.
Mm.
That was my starting point. That was my journey.
What was there something in particular that sparked it that you can draw to? Like, oh my God, there was this. That's what
Yeah.
sparked the thought.
I don't know if it was anything in particular. I think it was just a time that I surrendered.
Okay.
That sounds so lame, but I remember this is back in 2007, and I was working at a job, and I remember just not being happy and just being like, I I don't know. I'm frustrated internally
Mhm.
because I feel like I'm just floating on this lily pad of awesomeness that everyone sees, but I'm not internally happy.
Mhm.
And I think it was my soul crying out and going, okay, like this is it, y'all. I'm ready. And I think my guides were like, oh, I think she's ready, guys. I think she's finally surrendered. Oh, okay, we can go. And that's how it started. Because I think I kept saying I was ready. They're like, she's not ready. She's
Yeah.
not ready. She not ready.
Mm.
And so I think they finally felt the desperation in my soul crying out to say, you know what? I'm ready to step into what I came to do on the earth plane in this lifetime. And they were like, she's ready. And I think at that time, they put the right person in front of me. A friend of mine at the time was like, I'm going to go see this shaman in LA. Do you want to go? And I was like,
Oh,
Mm-mm.
shit.
No, I don't want to go. It's weird because I was raised in the church. I was like, no, it's shady. Devil's work. Not doing it. And but spirit had its very funny yet wise way of getting me there, because spirit knows that my kryptonite is things that look very aesthetically pleasing to the eye,
Okay.
also known as eye candy, in the form of men. And so my friend at the time said, well, he has a son that's very, very attractive and is an actor. And of course, I'm like, what? Cute kryptonite? And so she showed me a picture, and I was like, oh, that's his son? Oh, okay, great. When do we leave? And that's how that happened.
And Spirit got
And
just lobbed one up for you.
the softball lobbed just,
Man.
and of course, I right to center field. So I got there.
Yeah.
And of course the son wasn't there. He was at a party in the Hollywood Hills that weekend. So I know spirit's so shady. But hey, they do what they got to do. So
Right.
I got there, and I met the shaman, and it was a life-changing experience, learned some things, got a reading. It was my first reading. So I was just like, my mind was like, what just happened? And my soul felt a spark, and I couldn't explain it, but my mind was just blown. I didn't feel right about it in my mind because my conscious mind was grappling, because you're cracking open Pandora's box, and once it opens, stuff starts coming out, and you can't, it doesn't match an experience that you have, so you can't hook it on anything. You're just like, cannot connect this to anything. And that was the beginning of the opening. And so and it was really good for me. It was good for me to experience it that way, because being the type of person I am in my personality, and being very black and white and being very skeptical, I need an experience that my brain cannot fight against. My brain says, okay, we saw it, we smelt it, we felt it. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And then it can't argue with the fact. And so having that experience where this person tells me these things and sees these things that this person who's never met me before has seen, and I know the person they're looking at, I'm like, you've just described someone in my life to a visual T.
Wow.
And so your brain kind of stops fighting, and your brain's like, well, okay, I don't know what just happened, but I'm just gonna have to sit still and chew on that. And my soul's like, good, go chew on that while we step up and we finally are able to come to the surface
Yeah.
and express ourselves. So
Wow.
yeah.
Let me ask you, were you somebody who looked at like the horoscopes and stuff like that? Like, man, that's bullshit. Like that never works. Like that never works on me, or like too vague. Like I don't believe that kind of stuff up until you had that type of experience.
Pretty much. Like I didn't have time for that. Like I'm very black and white. I'm very like, what, yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
And so did I ever look at horoscopes? No. Did I ever look at that type of stuff? No, because I was raised in a church, and we're all about Jesus, others, and yourself, joy, going to church every Sunday and all this stuff. And so you don't have time to be looking at horoscopes, time to be, you just don't. It's not even in that's the stuff that you don't, that's down the slippery slope of evil. So I just never looked at it,
Okay.
even considered it as anything Bible. Wasn't even in my realm.
Yeah. So going back to I guess like your childhood growing up, outside of like the church influence, what was it like growing up like in your household?
Well, I am first generation American,
Okay.
Nigerian. My parents are Nigerian, so I was raised differently than most.
Okay.
I'm raised eating different food in the house, speaking a different language in the house, being in a different culture.
Okay.
So the British colonized Nigeria back in the day. So a lot of the religion, I mean, there's multiple religions in Nigeria, but there's a heavy British Anglican influence.
Yeah.
So my grandparents, went to church, my mother's parents. And so whenever we go to Nigeria, we'd go every year when I was young. we'd be at church. Like it was just, and it's the Protestant type of church. So I grew up around that.
Yeah.
So being anything other than Christian, going to church on Sunday, it was just weird. But I will say my mother was not a very church going person at all. But I went to church, and I had an aunt that was very, very religious. So she would come and get me to go to church.
Like your
And
mom
then
straight up wouldn't go, or she would go, but it was like I'm being dragged.
she just wouldn't go. I think she felt that church was just and I agree now, was a way to control. And so not really, was she religious in her own way? I'm sure, but I was an only child, so I was just in my own little zone,
Yeah.
and I was very a very reflective thinker at the time. So it's like, okay, well, that's you. I'm over here doing me. And so, if you can imagine, yes. So my aunt would take me to church, and after a while, she stopped, and I would go on my own. And I would always go. My mom would take me or go, but it wasn't a big. She wasn't like, oh, you got to go to church today. I mean, it wasn't her thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way I grew up in just going to church is something you did,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I did. It gave me a very good solid foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and I consider myself a very uh, one who has a strong relationship with God and Jesus. I something happens, I'm calling on the name of Jesus so fast. Am I letting go of any of that? No, because it all is the same
Yeah.
when you really get down to it. Whether you say Yahweh, Buddha, Allah, Krishna, Guru, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's all source. It's all love.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very much on the thinking that whatever you do, like, or whatever you believe in, as long as you're, trying to put good out there, and I don't care what you believe.
Right.
It's yeah, when you really do break it down to the bare bones, it's a pretty similar message across the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about your household growing up? Would you say was different? Being first generation American, but growing up in a Nigerian household, like what was different about how you grew up versus, I guess, me?
Yeah. Well, first of all, male, female, black, white. I mean, do I need to? Yeah. Okay. Sorry,
we're
I'm
gonna,
being a
we're
smart
gonna get
ass.
the black and white out of the way.
Yeah, I'm just put that out there.
Yeah.
But it was different because people look at me and they see a black woman,
Hmm.
see a black child,
Hmm.
but I had a completely different upbringing. My parents came to the U.S. My father came in the 50s, 60s, sorry, 60s, and my mother came in the 70s. And so my father was very educated, he was a professor, PhD, master's, all this back then. And my mother was also educated and a nurse, went to school. So everyone was college educated and beyond.
Mm.
And that's what I came into the world
Gotcha.
with. And so also I came with a different culture. And in our culture, you stay at home until you get married. It's different. Your parents live with you, you take care of them, everyone stays together. And so having that culture in the house and then coming here is different, and then also people look at me and they see a black person, so they assume, oh, so you listen to this type of music, you eat all this type of food. I'm like, no, I don't. Grits, I don't know. Fried chicken, I don't. What, I don't know. That's not something I grew up with. So people assign you these roles based on what you look like, and so you know, and I will say, growing up, I remember my mother would not really want me to be friends with white people
Mm.
or black people,
Mm.
and I'd be like, and she'd want me to have friends who were of different cultures, Indians, Asians, all that, and I could never understand why. And now I'm like, the culture, befriending people who had a similar culture. because they understood about the way you respected elders, the way you stayed at home until you were married, the way education was placed. Like if you're Indian and Asian, you're going to college. And
Okay.
after you're going, it's not even an option. My
Got
white and black friends, it was, yeah, I mean, I go to school, I don't really know. I'm like, Becky, what? I mean, school's not for everyone. Really? I'm shocked.
it. Yeah.
It wasn't even an option. But I remember having these conversations in school where I had friends, both black and white, who literally were like, I don't know, may go to school, may not. I don't even get a job. And, I was flabbergasted. I was
Yeah.
like, you have a choice? Because for us, like you go to school, it's for your culture, it's for your name, your lineage.
Yeah.
It's not just me, like it's for
Yeah.
my lineage. And so growing up differently, that was something. So it teaches you a different level of pride
Hmm.
in who you are, which is why it hurts that people don't understand the importance of having a culture.
Hmm.
And when people don't understand with all the things that have gone on for hundreds of years in the United States, but were highlighted this year in particular,
Yeah.
when you've taken people from their land, stolen them, and made them think that they don't have a culture, they don't have an upbringing, they don't have a root, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And they weren't the only ones. I see my Caucasian friends. I'm like, where are you from? I'm American. No, baby, you're not American. Where are you from?
Yeah.
Where's your culture?
Yeah.
Where are your grandparents, 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 grandparents from?
Yeah.
What is that culture?
That's what I've experienced, because that, to me, it was just like we didn't really get into that, and the longer that I've you know um thought about that, because like I remember growing up and not giving a fuck, like not even caring, like I I basically don't know anything about my great grandparents. I know a little bit about my grandparents. I don't know anything about anybody on my dad's side. It's yeah, it's very, very interesting. But then when I started to get a little bit more curious about it, I'm just like, oh, do we not do this? Because if we dig back too far, we're gonna find some shit that's like, oh, I'm related to somebody that oops. Like, and then it's like, what the fuck kind of like you can't feel proud about that, right? Then there's that like what are you gonna feel pride in type shit. Mm,
You can still feel pride in the good things,
yeah.
and then you make the choice and you send grace and patience to yourself for breaking the cycle of things that no longer served your lineage and where you are, because they did what they thought they had to do back in the day, but it's your choice now. So when people go, well, they talk about the white privilege, well, that's not me. Okay, it's not you, but it was your ancestors.
Right.
You don't have to carry that anymore. Acknowledge, look at it, acknowledge it, and go, man, that was fucked up. I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm not like that. I'm
Yeah.
glad I don't carry that.
Yeah.
And you move on. But it's still good to know that you had a language, that you had a type of food, that you had a way of dressing,
Yeah.
and you learned it from other cultures, and just appreciate the fact that there's differentness. And if everyone could take a moment to find the pride in who they are,
Hmm.
we wouldn't feel the need to take from each other and compare, because we're all special. We all come from something.
Correct.
But it's like when you choose to forget it and you feel like you don't have a culture, then you don't mind not seeing that in other people, which is how we're in the situation that we are today.
Right. Yeah. We're seeing this country that's supposed to be a melting pot, you know, go against the very beauty of what it could be. It's just like I feel like, man, if we can get it right here,
I
like
know.
if we can get it right with a blending of culture and just understanding that culture should be celebrated, like
Right.
it should be. It's amazing just sharing that with others, and it is something that frankly, I think white people can learn from, instead of, this goes into the cultural appropriation. Instead of doing that, it's why it's a shit show on Cinco de Mayo. It's why it's a shit show on St. Patrick's Day. It's like there's no, our culture is drinking. I guess. I guess our culture is getting fucked up.
But it's like it doesn't have to
It
be.
doesn't have to be at all. It's mm, yeah, that's a thinker.
Right.
But I think this year has shook up a lot of that and really brought it to the surface of just like, okay, like what are we valuing? You
Yeah.
know,
And
it's
I think people are still struggling because they've, for the first time, realized that they were valuing the wrong things.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah. And then they realize that the value that they placed on things, other people don't have that same level of value on those things because either the people never had value to assign or they never had things to assign value to.
yeah,
And finally being in a place for some, not everyone, to reflect and have the opportunity to change
mhm,
that view. You don't have to stay sitting in a shitty diaper. It's your choice. But don't complain about the smell, baby. Get get out of your diaper
yeah,
and, and move on. And so I think it was a very interesting year for many, and many people are still struggling with um with the fact that everything that they thought was real was an illusion.
yes. The Matrix showed itself.
Yes.
Whew. And
Yeah. Some people are like, Matrix. Yes, you were in the Matrix the whole time.
yes, I mean, remember I remember being in the Matrix. I mean, just looking back at some of the ways that I used to view life, and where I'm at now, it's a very different place, and being able to see, I guess, the Matrix for what it was this year,
Yeah.
like, if all of that, like, talk about, hey, the our politicians are here for us, and like, this is, we have it set up, we have the best country, we have the best setup. We found out that was all talk. It was 100% talk. A lot of us knew it, or even complained about it, or was just like, yeah, this happens. But now we actually see what the fallout is like when it's tested. It's not
Right.
a good feeling.
Right. I'm glad though that people were finally starting to notice that because if you are not white in this country, you've known this the entire time. So it's not new for many people who look like me. We're like, yeah, duh. I mean, my Caucasian friends, it was the worst for some of them. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe, okay, how are you surviving with everything? I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So people who look like me, we see a lot of the things that you haven't had to look at. And
Yeah,
so for us, this isn't that big a deal.
yeah,
It's not that big a deal. And so I think that, the recovery period for people varied depending on the shade of your skin in this country. You were like, okay, yeah, happens all the time. Mhm. Oh, you didn't know that the police didn't have everyone's back. Oh, you didn't know. Oh, yeah, yeah, they don't do that all the time. Yeah, you're surprised that they, are tear gassing people, the moms and all that. And yeah, that's what people do. Yeah, yeah. And so it was a constant. And they're like, really? I was like, yes,
yeah,
yeah. And so it takes it coming to their doorstep and in their living room for them to finally take notice. And so I applaud the people who did take notice and go, oh wow, I've unintentionally ignored what's been under my nose the whole time.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
some people, uh, you know, purposefully continue to ignore.
Yeah.
But, some
Right.
people, figured it out. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And no one faults you for for not knowing, because the system has been designed to keep you in a state of not knowing if you are white in this country.
Very much.
Because
Yeah.
if you know and it bothers you, then you'll rise up and make changes. Then the top 1%, they're like, "Wait a minute, how do we control everybody?" So we have to keep these people docile and keep them without power
Yeah.
and keep them institutionally held down. And then we need to keep these people happy so they can think that they're on top of these people so they can keep them in check. And then, oh, don't pay the women too much. We got to keep the women docile enough to make sure that they're underneath the men. Okay. So everybody holds the right people down,
Yeah. And
and you're taught that
they
way.
just blame everybody down
It,
here.
it literally,
Everybody up here is just like,
yes,
whoa.
literally, literally.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind. And I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, "You weren't taught this in school." Because she's like, "How come I didn't know about any stuff? How come I didn't know about the Tulsa? How come I didn't?" I said, "Baby, they didn't teach you that in school.
No.
If they taught you that in school, your, junior high self would have been like, 'Wait, what?' Because we all have a natural instinct to love and care.
Yeah.
Your natural soul would have been like, 'This isn't right.
Right.
This isn't what, huh?'
Right.
And then that would have empowered the Black and brown children in class. And I mean, everyone would have raised their consciousness, but they can't do that. So they don't teach you certain things.
Right.
They whitewash everything. So you stay in your place, which reinforces to the Black and brown kids there that, yep, you're going to stay in your place. And other people are like, "What place? There's a place?" Yes, you didn't know about the place. And so it's just like you said, it's a blame game circle. And so when people realize that everyone is a victim,
Yeah.
we are all victims. And by us liberating each group, we all become free.
Yes.
We all become free. And there's so much abundance that there's enough to go around. There always has been, and there always will be.
Correct. Yeah. This is why when the you hear the saying, when Black Lives Matter, all lives will matter. Like this is what it is talking about. Like, yeah, when this is equal, then it'll be good for everyone. Like, and that's the crazy part about all of this is you can, and especially seeing it this year, you can see how fucking good it worked. It was immaculate the way the people who are running the show set it up. Like it worked to a T. And uh I hope with our social media time that one of the things that we can sift through with some of this is that we've seen it real time instead of finding out 20 years down the line what's going on.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, those same people that are up here are all controlling your media too. So they're feeding you exactly what you get, and you don't get to share shit on your own because
Right.
you're really in your little bubble,
Right.
and it's yeah, a lot of bubbles have been popped this year for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's been interesting. And I love the fact when people with the whole Black Lives Matter would deflect to other things. And I love how you brought it back to that. When Black Lives Matter, all lives can and will matter. Because people are like, "Well, what about kids? Like, we can't be, we have people are stealing kids, there's human trafficking." And I said, "When do you think human trafficking started? When do you know the original human trafficking started when people came to another continent, took people, brought them across an ocean, trafficked their behinds to another country." And I'm like, "Do you understand that everything, unequal pay with women? When do you think they realized it was okay to pay someone less because of who they were? If they did it with slaves and Black people, oh, yeah, it's okay to pay. Yeah, we can start paying people less. Well, we don't pay them anything to do work. So we just, everything stems back to this. And so it's so important for people to realize that until people understand that Black Lives Matter in every aspect. They will see themselves in the struggle, because what has happened to the Black person in the US, everyone's related to it. Our struggles are everyone else's struggles. And so people don't need to see any separation. It's like, when everyone can marry, not just heterosexual couples. Like, we want everyone to be able to love who they want. We want everyone to be paid the same for the work you do, whether you're Black, white, male, female, gay, straight, trans, doesn't matter. Everyone should be paid. Everyone should be treated with respect. Everyone's lives should matter. Everyone's. We don't have to emphasize, we shouldn't have to, but we do.
Yeah.
Because some people have forgotten that certain lives are important.
Yeah. And it's it's decades of the system at work, and just the same sort of rhetoric being recycled throughout families, and
Yeah.
I've because I even asked a few of my friends this year when I've been talking with them about this, because when I gone back and like analyzed my own life and like looked at, you know what was my life like growing up, and what if I would have never left my hometown. And if I wouldn't have left my hometown, I probably would have been one of those people that said, "Oh yeah, I have Black friends, I get it," But when I look back, like I even brought down a bunch of pictures recently. Was flipping through them. I don't have any pictures with any of my Black friends from back in the day of my childhood. Like, I was friends with them at school, yeah, but like I wasn't like we weren't hanging out in each other's homes. I wasn't breaking
Right.
bread with them, like that kind
Right.
of thing, and it's just
Right.
like there's a difference between seeing Black people in the world and actually spending time with them, and I just some of the conversations I was having, like I was asking people about it because I went through the same uncovering, like, wait, huh, I get hmm, I guess not. And when I would ask, it would be kind of like a progression of the same thing of like, oh, well, it was like a family friend or it's like something like that. And it's like, no, like,
Right.
no, it doesn't happen.
Right.
It's not happening. It hasn't happened for a really long time. And we've all, like, in the white community, has just been okay with how it's gone because it hasn't affected us
Right.
until this year, like it has. And it's a fucking awakening for sure, because it is not easy to admit that you might not see it the way that you thought you did.
Right. 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 And it's funny that you said, going back to the words you said, how it's affected us. And I feel like few people realize that it does really affect you.
Yeah.
But some people, for them, it inconvenienced them.
Yeah.
It was an inconvenience because they don't quite get it.
Right.
They don't quite get it. And so I got rid of a bunch of quote unquote friends on social media when I would see the things that they were saying. They'd be like, well, so you're really gonna like not be friends with someone over politics? Yeah, it's not
It's not
politics. It's
politics.
actually deeper than that. And so when you say the things you've said, you made me realize that I'm just some Black person whose name you know.
Oh God.
Because we're not friends. I'm just one of the ones whose name you know.
Mm.
That's what you showed me. Because if you knew me as a person, as a friend, when you see a friend hurting because your friend is affected, you go, wait a minute, pause. I mean, you know what I mean? And so, like, even for me, like back, like I was raised super Christian. So when all of the gay marriage issue was coming up, you're here in church, you hear people in your ear, oh, it's against, it's about in the Bible, it's a sin.
Yeah.
And I had gay friends, but not I had, like, they were individual gay friends. And this when I was young. So marriage and my gay friends wasn't something they talked about or I talked about because we weren't of the age to be thinking about that.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I had friends who were couples, and and to see the fact that my friends couldn't get married, even though I wasn't gay
Yeah.
and I wasn't getting married, my heart hurt for them because they're my friend.
Right.
And now I'm like, okay, you know what? This is not my issue. But as a friend who cares about my friend, this is an issue for you. And I see how much you hurt.
Yeah.
So I need to look into this because this is an issue that affects my friend. And so when I had friends who were like, all lives matter, I really don't, we can be, no, we can't be friends because we're not friends. Because if you see people who look like me getting killed in the street and you're still like, well, I don't know what he did. I mean, really don't know. I mean, we don't.
Right. Oh God.
I'm
Yeah.
like, so when I die, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, Udoka was one of the good ones. She wasn't one of the bad black. I knew that black one was good. No, no, no. And so I let a lot of people go and I didn't feel bad. And I was like, you know what? You've taught me a lot,
Oh,
about our relationship that I misperceived. I
yeah.
thought we were actually friends, but I'm just some black person whose name you knew.
Yeah.
That's all.
This year is like that, like a drunken blow up, and then it's like 2021. Like this year still happened. Like you wake up the next day and it's like that awkward, like, ooh, so you said what you said, right? Oh, yeah, you still said that,
Yes.
and I feel that this year. It's just it isn't just about politics. It isn't just this basic shit. We're not talking about people whining and complaining and like all this shit. We're talking about people's lives. We're talking
Right.
about like actual change. We're talking about the systems that are affecting not only just, well, it's literally affecting everything. Like
Yeah.
it's literally affecting everything. There's no way around it.
Yeah. And the people can't see that. It just blows my mind. And I say, you choose not to see it because it affects everyone.
Yeah,
Everyone.
yeah, yeah. It's the inconvenience factor. It's like whatever's going to inconvenience you is the thing that's gonna make you realize there's something going on or something that you need to look into a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, man. What do you think in the is the direction that 2021 is going in? Because I don't. I hope and this podcast will be out in 2021, but it's not like we just flip a switch and everything's gonna go back to 2019.
No, I don't know. I think 2021 is going to be a pivotal year for most.
Mhm.
You will be presented with the choice to keep moving forward on your evolutionary path, on your soul's journey, keep growing, or you can go back to the rock you crawled out from under.
Mm.
You know, and I feel like, the rock has been moved. So to get back underneath that rock, you're gonna have to put, and shimmy your ass underneath. But you can go back. You can.
Yeah.
Or you could keep walking on the path that's been blown clear for you.
Yes.
Even though you don't know where you're going and what's ahead, because everything has been leveled.
Yeah.
But then it's up to you to find the joy in the unexpected.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where I have been over the past couple of years. When you learn to surrender and let go, you realize I don't know what's coming, but I know I'm protected and I'm guided. So I'm just going to have fun and take things day by day by day
Right.
and learn and grow every day. And some days you're going to be like, whoa, what the fuck? Other
Yeah.
days you're going to be like, oh, wow, this is kind of amazing. But every day it's something new, and you get excited about life again.
Yeah.
And you realize, things don't have to be in the box that you put them in before.
Mhm.
They don't, because 2020 showed us no. I mean, I've been saying for years, being a lawyer, that I used to hate having to be at work 8 o'clock in the morning to 5, and then you always got to be at your desk in case your boss comes by and make sure at your desk. In the morning, good morning, FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? And I was always thinking, if your employees are happy, if you don't, here's my thing. I'm like, if you nickel and dime me with time, I will give you back exact change, which means at 4:50, I'm logging off my computer. By 5 o'clock, my black ass out the door. If you want to nickel and dime my ass, and you need to be here at 8, you need to be your lunch break. Okay, then 11:59, I'm on lunch. I'll be at my desk reading my book.
Yeah.
I'm on lunch. Yeah, I will do that.
Yes.
But if you allow people to be happy at work, happy employees are productive employees. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, you need to work from home. Work from home today. Okay, you're more productive. And so, but companies fought that for years. Now, lo and behold, here we are. And they're like, wait a minute, we actually save money by having you work at home. Yes. And if you're at home, you don't have to get up and spend money on clothes, spend money on gas, aggravate yourself in traffic. So you're saving money.
Yeah.
And that means you're actually happier because you actually have time with your family.
Mhm.
You can actually do the work, and now the work is limited to be between 8 and 5. You actually can go out for the day, do some stuff, come back and work from 5 until 8, eat dinner, and maybe bust out another hour or two because you're a night owl and you work until midnight. Now you've got more work out of your employee. They've done it at their own pace, but at the end of the day, the work still got done and then some. And
Yeah.
your employee's happy, and you, supervisor, boss, company, have saved money.
Yes. Yes.
No one wanted to do this a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Because nope, you got to be in the office. You got to, lawyer, but you change your desk. I literally working 7 days a week. I mean, I worked at a firm. They bought us lunch and dinner. And when I worked, I was, this is great. Lunch and dinner delivered to your office. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. That's to keep
Uh,
me here. Oh,
uh,
okay.
right, right. And so now the tables are turned, and it's just like, yes, people are realizing the utility of allowing disconnection through computers
Yeah.
to bring forth connection to allow you to be with your family. And I can still talk. We can Zoom, boss. We can Skype.
Yeah.
I can hold the meeting via Zoom. We do everything by Zoom now.
Yeah.
So, so I think it was an eye opener for many people. So going into 2021, people can go, okay, all the things that I thought needed to be don't need to be.
Mm.
So what else doesn't need to be?
Mm.
Oh, these belief systems.
Mm.
Oh, these thoughts.
Mm.
Oh, these ways of doing things that I thought was the only way. Oh, these negative cycles that I've told myself. Oh, you don't need. You can let go of all that.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a choice for people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, crawl back underneath that heavy ass rock.
Yeah.
Or move forward.
Yeah. 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 It is a choice. Yeah. It's a choice that, you know, it, whether or not this year happened, you're going to get hit with something at some point in your life where you're going to have to make like a choice. It's going to happen. There's going to be something that shakes up your world so much that
Right.
it's going to make you question a lot of things that you might not have questioned before. So get used to questioning things now. Like just it's George Carlin thing. Like question everything. Like literally question everything. See where it resonates with you. See if it's something that you want to hold on to, or is it serving you well, or is it something that you can just let go?
And it's funny you say that because I was having a conversation with my friend years ago,
Mhm.
and we were saying how the art of wonder has been lost.
Ah, yes.
And we joked and we said, like, if you ask someone now, who won the World Series in 1984, Google. You're going to Google.
Yeah.
You don't have to wonder. You don't have to think about it.
Oh
But
yeah.
back in the day, you would go 1980. Okay, where was I in 84? Oh, okay, so I was in fifth
Oh
grade. Oh, and I used to live here.
shit.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then my friend, and then and you bring forth all these thoughts and memories, and you relive, and you engage your brain, and you think, and you wonder, and then you may even ask someone, remember, okay, where were you? Okay, then, and then you come to the answer.
Yeah.
And it's the art of wonder. And I feel like along those lines, also the art of critical thinking has dissipated. We don't think anymore because we have the ability to, and so people don't question.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that has been one of the single handed most things that we need, is to get back to critical thinking
Mhm.
and with our intuition.
Yeah.
Think about stuff. Like when I teach my law students, being a law professor, I say, okay, that argument, does it feel right? Huh? Does it feel right? I know you're making the argument. Does it feel right in your gut? And they're like, well, I think I didn't ask you what you thought. Ask you what you felt, because I need you to go back to feeling
Yeah.
your intuition and questioning when something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
When you're with a client, they're telling you a story, be like, that doesn't feel right. And you're not quite, you're like, okay, what's really going on? So for me, something doesn't feel right, I go, okay, I need to feel past the words that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And I need to dip into the energy of what's going on and go, oh, okay, the client wants $1,000,000, but she really wants, and I'm sorry. Right. Because this firing triggered her. Okay. Oh, I can then switch gears
Yeah.
and approach the situation differently,
Yeah.
with kid gloves or with love or creativity. And so I tell my students this, I'm like, this opens up a whole world if you just critically think and question. Don't take everything that comes to you as, oh, okay, that's what I read.
Yeah.
Right. But what'd you feel about what you read?
Yeah.
That's what you were told. Okay, what did you feel about what you were told? Did it make sense to you in your brain? Okay, then drop it down to your real brain. Did it make sense in your intuition?
Right.
And then find where there is a difference and reconcile that. And people have forgotten, well, some people just never had the ability to do that because they never have been told that they could. And some people have forgotten that ability. Because I mean, we all have it when we're children. A child, why? But why? But why? But why? But why? But why?
Yeah.
Are we there? Are we?
It all
That's the,
is.
they're critical thinkers.
Yeah.
And then someone tells them, nope, you can't do that. It's because I said so. And you gotta, and we lose that ability to think critically. Then we begin to allow external things to measure our success and measure our creativity, measure our productivity.
Yeah.
And then we're falling back in line into where we have been. And 2020 said, no, that's not working anymore.
Yeah.
It's not working. It's
Yeah.
not working.
Yeah. And it's not even that it's like, oh, we're gonna, you know, insert something different here and in the system. We got to go outside of the system. It's too much of a monster.
It is not working. It hasn't worked. It's worked for a few people,
A
but
few.
it hasn't worked for everyone. And we need to get to a point where things can work for everyone, because they can.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I just one of one of the questions that just popped into my head with you saying that is, some of the bailouts that some of the big corporations have received. If you gave all that money to people, they will spend it on the corporations. So I just don't get, well, I get that it's just pure greed. It's Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Like it it really is that. It's pure greed, because if you give all that money to the people, they're gonna buy shit, especially around the holidays. Like you could have cashed in on something crazy, just like, man, just give all that money to people. Everybody's happy, and it goes right back to the corporations that you were just supposedly bailing out, because people are still buying shit.
Right. And it's funny, people were mad at the looting. Oh my God, they're looting. They're break. I said, did you miss that $1 billion loot that occurred with the airline? Did you miss? That's motherfucking loot right there.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
bail us out, and then you turn around 3 months later, you've laid off everyone. I'm like, oh, y'all didn't. Oh yeah, we saw this coming because that's what they do. They took all the money, paid themselves, lined their coffers, and then did what they're going to do anyway. But people don't learn the lesson. It's like they misdirect their anger, instead of critically thinking, like, wait a minute, like you said, if we give people the money, they're going to spend it. And then it's going to come back to us because they'll buy our products and then they'll be happy and we'll get the money.
But they go, hey, I want to fly all around, and because I like to fly and feel that I'm better than everybody else, so let's bail out the airlines because the majority of us that are making all the money are the main ones flying.
And we hold stock in the airlines, so we need to do that. I mean, one of the jobs I used to be a plaintiff's class action attorney, and so we would sue companies, for class action. And these board of directors, you're like, oh, you have a small island? Oh, so the money that you've taken from these teachers' pensions and these plumbers and pipe fitters and these hardworking people, these pension plans, you've taken this money, lined your pockets, sent your kids to private school, and then, oh, the stock goes down. And right before it goes down, you sell a bunch and you do the stuff that you see, you're just like, wow, wow.
Yeah.
And these are hardworking people's money, but then, it's just frustrating because people don't see how it all fits together and see that it really starts from the bottom, not from the top.
Yeah.
Starts from the bottom, not from the top. It's just the top doesn't want to wait that long to get their money.
Right. Yeah.
They're like, no, we just want it now. Right. But if you give to them and they'll spend it and they'll come back. No, but we don't want to wait that long. We have yachts to buy and we're impatient. So I want my money now. And then whatever's left, I can sprinkle it to the peasants. Let them eat the crumbs of the cake, not the cake, the crumbs of the cake. And I shall have the cake to myself. Right. And it's just backwards ass thinking. You're just like, wow, wow.
Oh, man. Do you think do you think in your lifetime you'll see some sort of a shift in that thinking?
I think the shift is happening.
Right.
I think the shift is happening with several people, but it's going to take people keeping that momentum.
Yeah.
To make it happen. It's kind of like the energy is there. We can do this if we really want to, but there's this thing called fear. This motherfucker. Fear. People are like, but if it's not the way I thought it was or the way I'm used to, I don't know. So I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like I was telling people when the pandemic happens, people are like, like paying our bills and all this. And I said, what if we all just refuse to pay our mortgages?
That's something I was thinking, like collectively, if everybody just said, no, we're not going
we're not paying. I was like, what are you going to do? I said, we assign value to paper that is, we have arbitrarily assigned value to green paper. What if we decide that green paper, which can be printed at the whim of the Treasury Department, has no more value? What's going to happen? And people look at me and I'm like, guys, we are in the fucking matrix. You can create or dismantle things without fear. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. It's going to break apart and we'll rebuild something better. If we stop paying our mortgage, okay, then we all have property, we all have building. Okay, who's going to come and take your property back? I mean, if we all collectively decided We're not paying rent anymore.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, no one. Restaurant, no one's paying. No, if you're in a, it's your done.
If there is rent, we're not doing it.
We're not doing it. That means restaurants, you can stay where you are and continue making money and feeding people. And people come and pay you money and you can continue to run your business. You can continue to do that. But where you are, there, you do not have to rent that. But people look at you like, I'm like, yeah, we can make this reality if you guys want to. But you need to step out of your fear. Step out of your fear and step forward, knowing that you are choosing to change the world and move it in a better direction to where we're not beholden to old thought processes and beliefs and institutionalized racism and injustices that we've been holding on to because it's all people know. That we don't know. That's all we know. Okay, well, let go and allow yourself to know something different. We don't know what it's going to look like, sure, but that's the fun part, getting to rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where the creativity piece comes into play. This is where the wonderment gets to come into play.
Yes.
Getting back to it, getting back to the child self, like having
Yes.
a little bit of awe.
Yeah.
Like what happened to that?
Right. I don't know what happened, but we need it back because
I
that's
mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's the really difficult thing that I see with all of this is because of the way the workforce is. I know a lot of it got shook up this year, but there's a lot of people involved in jobs that are still, it's yeah, 60 to 80-hour weeks, and the hours are shit, the environment's shit, everybody hates it there, and it goes back to the fear. It's you're afraid to start something new, but you're also afraid of being fired, and you're afraid of there's all these different factors that come into play, but it is very difficult to see the forest from the trees when you're in that cycle.
it is. And it does take courage to step out of it. It does. But you'll never regret it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll never regret it. Nah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually do have hope. Like I have a lot of I do have I yeah, I have hope for where we're going. I think this year, it's crazy how we learn lessons as
Right.
human beings. Not just on a collective level, but at an individual level. Because there's been plenty of times where there's been like, hey, notice this, notice this, notice this, notice this, notice this, notice this, and then I get hit with a 2x4.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think we're getting better at noticing the things at a younger age. Like that's what I've kind of picked up from talking with some younger people. Like they're giving me hope.
There is hope out there. There is. We just have to remember that we all came to the earth plane to do something special.
Yeah.
Each and every one of us. And so when we remember that, and we remember that we didn't come here to be miserable, that's only through the circumstances of other people, because we're all given free will. So you're just at the whim of other people's free will. And it's like, do you want to continue to do that? Do you want to continue to prioritize other people's traumas over your growth?
Yeah.
And I say that because we all come here to learn and to grow and to heal. And so you're really being subjected to other people's traumas that are bleeding on you.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue to prioritize that over who you are? And so I think in the beginning, many of us don't realize that. But once you realize that, you begin to say, well, why should their traumas take precedence over my own? I have traumas I came to deal with and learn and grow from and heal in this lifetime. So I need to work. Yes, you need to work on that. Now do that. And then you leave them in their trauma and you move on and you work on your own, And so if we can all remember, it's funny, I get visuals sometimes as I'm talking. So as I'm talking, I saw a bunch of people in a room walking around with their shoelaces untied, and everyone's tripping because people are stepping on people's shoelaces. And it's a hot mess. And you're walking and all of a sudden somebody step on your shoelace and you trip on over your own shoelace. But then if you say, okay, everybody stop, everybody bend down and tie your shoelace. All right, now everybody
We're good.
we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
But we never stop and fix ourselves and focus on our own. But the minute we do that, we really do make it better for everyone else around us.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
so
we can
yeah.
work collectively with people, and it actually works. And the visualization I just got is like the whole balloon trick in the room, where you write a bunch of people's names on balloons and you say, go find your name, and you see a mad dash of people trying to fight to find their balloon. But if you switch it up and you just allow people to call out names, work together, you don't have to push through everybody to find the balloon. You can actually like work together, so it's not a crazy event. You can do it much more efficiently, and it's without all this added stress.
Right.
Like just working together, man. Like we've gone so far away from appreciating the fact that it's like it's okay to work with other people. Like I think that's just I think that's getting back to some of the stuff we were talking about earlier. It's the individual approach in this
Right.
in this country. It's you are an individual, and that has kind of led to a super inflated ego,
Mhm.
and it's left us with getting too far away from community.
Mhm.
We got to get back to community.
Yeah, we do. The connectedness, we need to get back to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like we just went off on a bunch of different topics on this one. I had no idea what we were going to get into, but
I
I'm
didn't
glad it
either.
kind of went like that.
It
Oh man.
needs to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to get into on this one?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Hmm. Let's see. Any any messages for 2021?
Do you have any messages for 2021?
Yeah.
You know, none in particular. I just, I literally take things day by day,
Yeah.
and I don't assign unnecessary value, anxiety, or thoughts to things prior to their arrival.
Mm,
And like if you read the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, about staying present in the moment.
mm,
It's the minute we're in the past and thinking about what happened that we feel those emotions, that depression, that anger, that frustration, because we're just reliving those emotions, putting those emotions back in our backpack, weighing ourselves down, and then thinking about what's to come causes anxiety and fear.
mm,
But if we can stay present in the moment, you don't experience that anger and fear. You don't experience those past emotions. And so I've really made an effort over the past year and a couple of years to really just be in the moment,
mm,
because people ask me, because I know that I left my job of lawyering and teaching. Well, I still teach law now, but full-time teaching,
mm.
to work on my spiritual business and to do that full time. And like, well, what are you going to do? Well, what, I don't know, Karen. When I figure it out, I'll let you know. But all I know is today I'm teaching 2 yoga classes, meeting with a client to do a reading, and making a healing candle for someone. That's what's happening today. And then tomorrow, oh, I have a tea time. I'll play golf. I'm literally step by step by step. And it allows your brain not to be cluttered with the anxiety of what's to come.
Yeah.
And it talks about that too, like birds in the Bible. Birds get up. They don't worry about what they're going to eat for the day. They fly around. They know they're going to get food.
Mhm.
They fly around and they eat.
Hmm.
But we constantly worry about what's to come because we've been ingrained that you got to do this. You got to, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan?
Oh my, that
Woo,
that
woo,
shit. Like,
woo, ju- woo. Just calm down. How about you just live in the present moment and live according to your authentic self and allow your soul to express what you came to do in this lifetime?
yeah,
How about you just do that and see what happens
yeah,
and reinvent yourself? If you're in a job, you've been there for 10 years, you're not growing, find something else that makes you grow. Whether that means you stop and you bake cakes for the next 5 years and bring back joy and passion to your life, then you bake cakes for the next 5 years. And then when you wake up and be like, ooh, I think I want to go back to being an engineer. Okay, then go.
then do it.
You can reinvent yourself constantly. The only time you stop reinventing is when you take your last breath and you leave your earth body and you go back into spirit. And at the time, you look back at your life and be like, ooh, I could have done a lot better. Shit. My next life, I'm going to do this. And you make all these plans, what you're going to do in your next life. And you come here and you fuck up again. So it's, so it's just like, okay, how do I not fuck up? I know I've been back there and I said I was going to come and do all this stuff. How can I remember what I said I was going to come do? How can I learn and grow? And so it's just, so yes, to answer your question the long way, do I have a message? No, it's just living day by day,
Yeah,
tuning into what you need every day
you need to slow down.
and slowing down. Yeah,
Slowing
yeah.
down. Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I have a little whiteboard in this room, and at the end of last year, I kept getting like, man, I feel like 2020 is going to be like the year of movement. So I just wrote 2020 equals movement. And that's been on my whiteboard all year. And I've been thinking I've really been getting the feeling of like, 2021 for me is going to be about grounding, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Looking forward to it.
yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you what my 2021 is going to be about. Um, oh, as you said that, I heard expansion. It's going to be about, okay, thank you. It's going to be about expansion,
All right.
expansion. And I could see that. I think that I, and many people have played small for quite some time. And so I think it's time to begin to expand and really shine, at least shine my light into the world so that my tribe can find me.
Well, with that being said, if there's a way for people to find you on the social medias and the interwebs and all that fun stuff,
On the
where can
intranets,
people
on
find
the
you?
World Wide Web. Yes, so Spiritual Blacksmith. I'm on Instagram as Spiritual Blacksmith. I'm on Facebook as Spiritual Blacksmith. I'm on YouTube as Spiritual Blacksmith. So you can find me there. You can also be reached by email at info@spiritualblacksmith.com. And you can reach me for a plethora of things. And I don't know if we talked about that, but what I do, so I'm a medium and a psychic and a Reiki practitioner, certified yoga teacher, 500 hours certified, a certified ThetaHealer, and all things that help you really step into who you are and help you remember who you came to be. And so I'm a life coach. I work with people physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and professionally to help you really break through the things that are holding you back from being in your full power. And I also do that through plethora of things. I make healing candles for people. I make healing teas, healing elixirs with the moon and the crystals and all that. I give readings and also hold plant medicine ceremonies. And so I do a lot of things to really help you, find out who you are. And I always say that we're all so unique that no two people have the same fingerprint. It's scientifically proven. I love science because I'm very black and white. No two people, even identical twins, don't have the same fingerprint.
Yeah.
And so knowing that scientifically, no two people are going to see the world, feel the world, experience the world in the same way, which means no two people are going to be healed in the same way. So for you, healing could be a reading and some Reiki and a yoga sequence that's personalized to you. For somebody else, it could be a plant medicine ceremony and taking you into a level to really open up into your higher self. It's just, it varies. And, people come to me and they go, well, I just need help with, my relationship and this guy, or I need help with a job. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at your health. What does the health have to do with it? Everything is connected. Everything is connected. So if one part of your life is off, it's going to affect everything else. If one of your chakras is blocked, it's going to affect everything else. And so everything works in tandem. So I tell people I take a holistic approach to helping you. I'm going to look at all your stuff. We're going to look at how you are physically, how you are emotionally, spiritually, financially, professionally, all of it, and really get you back in balance, because everyone's balance looks different.
100%.
Your balance is the way it's supposed to be for you.
Yeah.
So that's what I do and how to find me. And yeah.
It's funny. I usually do that at the beginning of so
It wasn't
hey,
meant to be at the beginning.
hey, this is awesome. I'm glad we're rounding it out this way. And I love the fact that you have your background as a lawyer before you got into this. Because frankly, a lot of people look at what you're saying and it's seen as, foo-foo, whatever, blah 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 blah. That's just the reality of where we're at right now. And it's always cool for me to talk with people who have been dragged kicking and screaming along their new path. It's like, I didn't ask for this,
Right.
but okay.
And they're like, no, but you did though. You just
Yeah.
don't remember. And I'm like, you're right. I digress.
Oh,
Carry on the drag. Carry on.
that's so true. Oh man. Well, it was awesome chatting with you today on this
Yeah,
one, and we got to do this again.
we should.
For sure.
This is good.
All right. Well, hope you enjoyed it, people. We are getting out of here. See ya.